everyone, and welcome to the Contingency Plan Podcast. My name is Jedi Master David, and with me, as always, is Darth Austin.
Hello, everyone.
Well, all I got to say to you this week is fire when ready.
Pretty epic.
Oh, he said the thing. He said the thing. Oh, no. Well, folks.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Bad Batch, counting down to the end. We indeed have a two-part finale. I think we've kind of talked about that here and there. We're also going to look back into the High Republic comic, which would have probably been really helpful before we read Rising Storm, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, would have.
And I'm probably going to be a little negative today. So
Why?
Well, you'll find out after this. After a word from whatever sponsor.
Our sponsors that never pay us.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, I'll just say this. I think that publishing chose the wrong stories to put in book form.
I would have to agree.
Yep.
Because after this, I'm sorry, the Nihil just are not very interesting compared to the Drengir.
Well, we've said it for 3 books that the Nihil just really aren't all that fascinating. And I mean, listen, we were, 2? It doesn't really matter. But I mean, because we did get the Drengir in the Claudia Gray book. But I know we were a little critical on the Drengir. And I don't necessarily think it's the Drengir. I actually think it's more the characters.
Yeah,
that I would agree. That I kind of wish were a little bit more in the rotation. I don't know. But the Nihil don't care. I hope we do care because obviously there's more phases and everything, but haven't been all that impressed. Haven't been that impressed with it. So
and without getting too far in, 2 things I'll say. I would much rather have Keeve in a lot of these books than some of the stars we've had. And I think the Progenitor would be a much more interesting villain to read about than Marciano.
Yeah, and his beast thing that he has to transport from place to place. Yeah. Anyway, I guess we do have quite a bit to talk about here. Next week is going to be the end of Bad Batch and our sort of Bad Batch retrospective. We might, I don't know, depends on what you want to do, but we might revisit a retrospective later on down the line. But, we've kind of both been talking about it, sort of needing a little bit of a break, from reading and some of this stuff. I mean, we did do New Jedi Order last week, but and even the comics, kind of need a bit of a break from the War of the Bounty Hunters, I think. So next week's just going to be the show and sort of a retrospective, and then which
kind of sucks in a way because then we have, unless we go back into the catalog, we have no shows to talk about for a while.
Well, I mean, we have quite a bit of other stuff. I know after Bad Batch ends, we'll be going into Out of the Shadows. And then we'll kind of do a Phase 1 retrospective on the High Republic. Kind of go back through a lot of the Phase 1 media. So that should be very interesting once we get to it. And, but before we even get started here, a word from Art. No, I'm just kidding. How was your week?
Not too bad. In the process of moving right now and spending a ton of money on new stuff, trying to decide what kind of mower to get, things like that. Good times. Doing a lot of shopping.
Yeah, for sure. That's never really a fun thing to do, move.
No, especially when you're actually the one doing all of the moving for the person who lived it before.
Yeah.
Because the guy hurt his back, so I've been doing most of the heavy lifting on that.
Right. Yeah, and it's always funny how much you accumulate over time. Mm-hmm. Even when you don't really mean to. You just do. It's just how it works. So, Yeah, man. Well, that's good, I guess. Sort of. Getting in your new place, which is positive. Yeah, I've just been in the office this week, normal work sort of thing. Kind of honestly dealing with burnout, really. Kind of burnout of a lot of things.
Other than work, I take it?
Yeah, well, some people who listen regularly know, I mean, I do a fair amount of content, and I think, YouTube and obviously this. I'm a little burnout with that. I'm a little burnout with I've been burnout on social media, but now it's even more so. I'm burnout on the way the world's going right now as well. So yeah, it's kind of like probably getting towards a point where, really need to get out and do more stuff. But
I think you need to take a long vacation and just leave the country.
Where? I mean, the problem is again right now, with the whole, Delta thing going on, not the airline. It's just, it sort of throws things into another sort of tailspin, and who really knows?
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of things are just getting old. So definitely looking for some potential new beginnings, I think, and we'll kind of see what that all comes up with. But yeah, it's just kind of been a meh week. Haven't really felt like doing a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah, and on that note, I guess we might as well tell everyone we're ending the podcast. We're just done.
I think we already tried to say that like a couple of weeks ago or a month ago. Who the heck even knows? Yeah, I mean, the podcast has always been like a good thing, for just me and you to sort of like sit down and talk about various things, and obviously
and hope and wait for someone to talk back, which they never do.
Yeah, but I mean, again, we've had a lot of episodes, especially recently, where we kind of talk about other things as well in the beginning, and then get into the subject matter. Because really, the rest of Star Wars world universe, it's pretty toxic for the most part. Mm-hmm. I can't remember what was trending recently. There was something that was stupid that was trending in the Star Wars sphere. There were a couple things. What was it? That spaceship hotel thing that they were doing in one of the parks or whatever. And then something about Last Jedi. Who the heck knows? But yeah, I mean, all of that stuff gets old. I mean, it's been old.
Are we still really talking about Last Jedi like it matters?
Oh yeah, I mean, it pops up all the time. It literally pops up all the time. Like there are people that are just so overly opinionated about it, like it ruined their entire lives. This one movie that it pops up fairly regularly, and again on both sides. Oh, I hate it. No. Well, unpopular opinion, but Last Jedi is like the best movie I've ever seen in my entire life. Any of the other classics, no, they suck. Last Jedi is the best movie ever. So yeah, that stuff pops up all the time.
I guess it was probably the same when Phantom Menace came out for a couple years after. We just
we didn't have social media
about it
like that. Yeah. I mean, there was obviously internet and forums and stuff like that, but you didn't have to. And have to is a pretty strong word, but you weren't as inundated with it. It wasn't a normal part of your routine. Let me put it to you that way. So,
well, no, back then, I mean, you'd talk to a small group who were also into Star Wars. You'd have your discussion, and that'd be kind of the end of it. You wouldn't just keep going back to that subject day in, day out. With social media, you kind of have that option, and it's infuriating in a way a little bit.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But, I mean, that's enough about social media. It's not even really worth the time it takes to talk about it, in all honesty.
Right. It's funny, we always talk about how social media gets us down, but I never think we get to the point where it's like, oh, yeah, that made my day. That made my day better.
No.
But we always go back to it eventually.
No, I mean, you'll see some good stories pop up every now and again. It's like, oh, that was a nice story, but it's just so overshadowed by everything else, and everyone else trying to one up. And there's a lot of attempted self-validation through social media posts and followings and stuff. I see a lot of people run some pretty sensationalism type, videos, content, whatever, because it might gather them a couple more followers, 100,000 followers, whatever. I guess it's kind of strange to seek validation in that, but a lot of people do, and it seems like far more centralized now in the overly internet age, that people just they almost need it to feel like they're worth it, I guess, And I've even been experiencing this a little bit with a few people in my life, where some folks just want it far more like surface level. And then when you stray into the deeper conversations, it's like pull back because I can't deal with this, that kind of thing.
Right.
Which I've always felt that if you're not actually talking through and dealing with your problems, and you're just using suppression and hoping one day you get over it, it's really not a healthy way to deal with any of that, really.
It's not,
and it just winds up leading to more problems. But again, it's all the same stuff. So yeah, it's weird times. We really need to, it's funny because when like all the mass mandates and all that stuff sort of trickled away, and you started to see state governors starting to be stripped of a lot of their emergency power because this went on so long. And again, we're not advocating one way or the other, by the way. It's just it is the actual reality of the situation that this has caused so much discord, no matter what you believe, that it's all just became anger. And when that all lifted, people started maneuvering out, like me and you went and saw a baseball game a few weeks ago now. And it was pretty packed, and people were enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
They were feeling a little bit more alive again. And now there are so many places that are trying to reinstitute mask wearing despite being vaccinated and all that stuff. Again, we're not talking about, this isn't opinion stuff. We're not talking about science or facts or anything. It's a fact that it's happening. And that's really bringing forth a lot of that anger again. It's just very hard to deal with. And then again, where anger comes, more sensationalism and Twitter fights happen. So
yeah, and I think a lot of people are at the point where the idea of having to wear masks again, regardless of if it's needed, it infuriates them. They thought it was done, and they're just worn out.
Well,
there comes a point where I hate to say it, you just stop caring whether it's helpful or not. And I think a lot of people are there right now.
Yeah, well, I think most people individually, they definitely want to, do the right thing, even if it's for strangers and stuff. There's some people that don't, obviously, but yeah, it's just difficult, and I think we're all really, really, really feeling that. So I don't know. That was depressing. So anyway,
back to Star Wars.
Yeah, back to Star Wars. So what did you want to discuss first? Do you want to go over Bad Batch, or you want to start on the comics?
I definitely want to do Bad Batch. It's
okay.
Going to be a bit more positive, I think, for us.
So, episode 15, Return to Kamino.
One last time.
Yeah, one last time.
No reason to go back there.
Well, and we had talked a little bit in previous episodes about, what was the game with the Battle of Kamino in it?
That was Battlefront. It was either Battlefront 1 or 2, the originals, not the new ones.
Well,
I think it was 2.
Well, they don't need to have much of a battle. It was destroyed.
Yeah.
Oops, did that spoil the entire episode for you? Oh, no.
Yeah, no, it went down a little differently in the game. They changed things up a bit.
Yeah, quite a bit. I'm sure that throughout this week we'll have Dave Filoni ruin canon again.
I think we'll get the Bad Batch in Battlefront 2 as playable characters.
Dude, is anybody still playing Battlefront 2?
I don't know.
I haven't played it.
But I would probably go back to it just for that, honestly.
Yeah, I haven't played it in a long, long time. I mean, it was an interesting game when it came out. It was fun, aside from the loot box system, which they did eventually get rid of, because the whole pay-to-play thing was so strong. And EA is just, they've always been like that. I already said, I think we talked about this a long time ago, too, because, I used to be a Madden guy. I like Madden. But buying a game every year that progressively just increases in price for the sake of a roster, and literally, sometimes it even...
That's all you're paying for.
Well, sometimes it even gets worse. They take away more things. The old franchise modes, way back in the day, were so involved. You were structuring the prices of a hot dog, and, what sponsors were here and there in the stadium. And that was... obviously that's really in depth and not a lot of people probably really cared, but, it was interesting for me. But, with Madden, it's literally just like a roster update anymore. There's really not much in the way of graphical update or play update. And sometimes you get so many people that complain about the play and the way things control and the look of it that it's well, you're not advancing anything at all. You're just adding different names to different jerseys and restructuring assets.
Yeah, I think Ultimate Team kind of got a little too much attention, honestly, and the actual gameplay was ignored because I found myself on the last Madden game I had focusing solely on Ultimate Team just to get better players, but then you're not really playing the game. You're doing these little stupid challenges to get points, to unlock new characters, and by the time you get a good team together, I was just so burnt out. Yeah. I played 3 games online, got destroyed by people who paid to win, and it just wasn't fun.
Yeah, and again, that's classic EA where, you grind like we used to in video games to unlock things and secrets and all that stuff. And now it's just more, well, I don't know if I want to say now, because that definitely has been getting so much blowback, but it really is like an EA thing to just microtransaction you to death. It's literally the mobile game mentality. It is. I mean, you remember Angry Birds, right? I think it's still around, obviously, but the original game, you paid 99 cents for it, and you had the game. Well, that game's no longer there. It's not supported. It's totally deleted, and you have to buy this new game. And I want to say it's not been recently. It's probably been a few years ago now. I actually re-downloaded the new game just to say, hey, what's it look like? And it's not very fun.
Really?
No, it wasn't very...
They stripped it away and you have to pay for it? Or?
Well, no, there are a lot of potential for microtransactions, or at least there was at the time. But it just, I don't know, it just didn't feel like fun anymore. The old one was a real challenge, and getting 3 stars was a big deal. And every one of these, I got 3 stars. Every single time it's 3 stars, 3 stars, 3 stars. Here's a chest of crap that you don't care about. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
those sort of games just I don't understand.
Yeah, EA's always been bad about that. I'm actually shocked that they didn't do that with the Mass Effect trilogy when that came out, which I did get, and they didn't. Yeah. They gave you every bit of content. They're only releasing it to set up for the 4th game so they can transfer your saves. But it was nice to see that they can actually make a good, solid remake without gouging us for more money.
Well, but the
problem is new content. It's always microtransactions.
Yeah, well, I was just going to ask, because, isn't Mass Effect kind of an older IP, though? It's not a new IP.
It was from 360 days.
Yeah,
They had a game come out for the Xbox One, I think, when it first came out, and PS4, obviously. But, no, they're getting ready to come out with a new game, and that's the only reason they re-released them. Because the way those worked was every decision you made would transfer to the next game through your save file.
Yeah, never.
But they couldn't do that with 360 files, obviously, going into the next generation. Yeah. So,
well, we've talked a ton about video games and sort of the preference in video games, but yeah, I don't know anybody who plays Battlefront anymore.
Yeah.
It was a good game when it came out. I thought it was. I think it took a lot of heat. I actually think it took more heat than it deserved because, the story was short. It was a good story, but it was really short. But the thing for that was playing these large-scale multiplayer campaigns, which were pretty epic, for the couple that they had. They didn't have a ton, but, just online play was pretty fun, at least I thought. For the most part. But anyway, that's video games, and we need to talk about Bad Batch. So we already told you that the Kamino and base was destroyed. But anyway, so we start the episode off, and we have Crosshair effectively trying to lure the rest of the Bad Batch to Kamino, and takes Hunter's communicator, and then of course the Bad Batch being them, they of course follow it without any. They probably say it's a trap, but
I would hope so.
Yeah, but they do it. They do it anyway. And I think probably one of the more interesting things here is that we always had this whole conversation about Crosshair and would he turn back? Would they help him and everything? And I think, at least for me, the fun thing about this episode was really peeling back a little bit more of the onion on Crosshair. And we do get a revelation a little bit later in the episode, which is he doesn't have his inhibitor chip anymore. He got rid of it a while ago. Now, I didn't say how long ago, but
would you venture to say it's pre-Order 66, post-Order 66? That's the question.
Right. Yeah, and
because that's where we get into moral issues.
Yeah,
with him.
That is indeed the question, for sure.
Yeah. But
we do get the one of Crosshair's like troopers here, and the Admiral Rampart. You can very clearly tell that they're still suspicious of all the clones, and Kamino here is basically bereft of clones. There's no clones here. The Kaminoans have been shipped off-world. They're basically stripping the facility down.
Our governor, who ambiguously died last episode, is definitely dead now.
Oh, yeah.
He's nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
He blew up.
The Prime Minister, right? Wasn't he? Prime Minister?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Omega being, the super strategist.
The leader.
Yeah, the leader. Does inform the Bad Batch that there's a secret pad we can hop on, and there's secret tunnels and
secret tunnel
that lead to secret facilities that we were all created in. And I thought this was kind of an interesting thing because basically it almost insinuates that and it's all about timing, because it almost felt like she was saying that she was there for their creation.
Mm-hmm.
Which
kind of messes with timelines a little bit. That's a bit odd for me.
Well, I feel like that's probably not the intent, really, but it did kind of seem a little bit odd to me.
Mm-hmm.
But they were all essentially created in the same lab. They don't expound upon that. I assume in the next episode we'll get some more exposition on why that matters.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I don't know why I've never thought of this, but that scene just kind of makes me want to see the children versions of the Bad Batch. Just because I think they'd be funny. Wrecker would be funny.
Well, no, I guess that is kind of interesting because there are physiological differences. I don't know. I don't know how that would work out. That would be interesting. So, I hate to skip ahead a little bit, but there's really not like a ton of exposition I can really share here. They're in the facility for a little bit, and then that droid, the
AZ,
yeah, who we have seen before, the annoying the annoying droid.
I'm surprised he hasn't been destroyed by now, honestly.
Yeah, a little surprising. Well, eventually, just to kind of roll into it, they, in quotations, lure the Bad Batch to the training area, the old training area. And I think this is kind of where we can just talk about Crosshair, really. Because some of the speech between Crosshair and Hunter, it gave you that sort of ambiguous, well, is he going to help them? Is he not going to help him? Is he lying? All that good sort of stuff. But he basically, he seems to be angry that he was left behind. You know? And then he even says at one point something like, I'm going to do for you what you didn't do for me and give you a chance, I think, is what he said. Something vaguely to that.
Yeah, basically what he said. It's just odd because, I mean, he wasn't technically left behind as much as he left the crew.
Well, and see that...
And it's not that the crew didn't give him a chance.
Yeah, well, the thing is that all bleeds into kind of like a... sort of a complex where, you know, although I made a choice, you left me. Why didn't you make the same choice? Because we're all the same.
Well, it's kind of a Sith thing. It's almost like Anakin and Obi-Wan in a way.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. But he what was it? I think Tech was the one who noticed those stupid little mirror things that he shot off of.
Yeah.
So Crosshair basically asked him to join me, and we can rule the Empire side by side.
Darth Crosshair.
But obviously Hunter, I don't remember exactly what he said, but something to the effect of like, you know, you don't really know who we are type of deal, something like that.
Yeah.
But Crosshair does shoot his troops, so there you go, using his mirrors of death.
I'm sorry, that was kind of epic.
I mean, no, it wasn't bad. It was just it still just sort of seems kind of corny.
It's extremely corny, and I love it.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's bad old Western.
Right. Well, Crosshair does try and order the TK units to stand down, and at this point they're not listening to him. So that's when he does his mirror trick. And he and Hunter sort of fight a little bit. I actually kind of enjoyed the sort of little fight sequence, and then Omega unleashing the training droids.
Thinking she was helping.
Yeah, thinking. It's like, you didn't really think this out too much, did you?
No.
But the sort of sequence here, even though it's a very small scale thing, I don't know. I thought it was kind of neat. It was kind of a neat little adventure, I suppose.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to see Crosshair kind of rejoin the team for a split second too to defend themselves. Well,
and okay, so just to backtrack to prior episodes, so when Order 66 came through, I truly believe he had the inhibitor chip at that point because he clearly, you know, received the order and followed it and did oh, my head, oh no. So I think that the removal was much later, and I personally think he kind of did it to see like who he was, because at this point he even tells the Bad Batch, he's like, this is who I am. This is who, like, I want to be type of deal. So he is for the Empire, essentially. I mean, he did just kill some of his troops again. So maybe he's not, but he kind of has this
power.
Yeah, he kind of has this superiority complex a little bit. But yeah.
I would have to guess it'd be around the time he gets his hyperdrive engine burn.
Well, no, I actually was thinking about before that, because if you remember, he was in a scanning unit on Kamino when he came back, and I feel like that might have been when he did it.
Okay.
I mean, yes, when he was burned, that we both talked about that. We would have preferred that would have been kind of a cool turn. But I think it was even before that.
You know, how far along was it when he had his little troop that he was given and he kills the one for disobeying?
Yeah, that was a Saul Guerrero
4 or 5
episode.
episodes. I kind of wonder if that would be the moment, too, because I feel like the chip probably would have stopped that from happening.
Maybe. Well, I mean, it was pretty soon after that he joined the Empire that scene of him in the med bay happened. So I think that was probably before that troop. I don't know. I'm not sure. And of course, we're kind of left with a bit of an ambiguous ending. I mean, it's a cliffhanger. So we don't really know kind of the status of how this is all going to work out. Like, will Crosshair, continue to try and like make this the elite Imperial troop, or will he change, or will they have to duke it out again? Obviously, we don't know, but I feel like that'll probably come to a head.
Do you think they'll believe him about the chip being removed, or do you think they're going to check it out?
I mean, if we had another episode, I would say that they would check it out. I mean, I don't really feel like there's any reason for him to necessarily lie about that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that'll.
Well, plus, if you had the chip, would you be that self-conscious about the chip anyway?
Sure.
Honestly.
Yeah, sure. So we'll have to see. And we had sort of had some thoughts about, somebody sacrificing themselves. I think that, if it follows like standard tropes, you would have to say
redemption arc for Crosshair.
Yeah, I mean, you could do the redemption arc where like maybe Hunter is killed. It's like, it's your troop now.
No, if Hunter gets killed, then Omega's putting on a little headband and taking over.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what'll happen with that, but I always said that I don't mind him coming back into the fold. It makes more sense. But we'll see. Now, as this fight is going on and kind of coming to its conclusion, the Empire, with their 2 Star Destroyers, does open fire on the facility, effectively destroying old video games. And, that's basically the end of, this Kamino and facility. Who knows? I mean, there could be more. And we're also left to wonder what happened to the Bad Batch, because they were...
The last we see of them where they're running back into the facility that just gets razed to the ground, essentially.
Razed to the sea.
And they have no... And they... Well, yeah. But, I mean, they have no way to use that monolith system to get back to their ship.
Maybe.
And how far away is that facility from anything else? Can only swim so long.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there will be something. Let's face it.
Yeah.
There will be like an extra ship or something we can ride.
My guess is
space whale. I don't know. Something will happen.
My guess is Gregor and Sid will probably come to the rescue.
Maybe. Which coincidentally, what did you think about Gregor just sort of being passed off at the beginning of the episode? It's like, we just left him with Sid. She wasn't too happy.
Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of expecting to see more of him this episode. It's a bit disappointing, to be honest.
Yeah, and it kind of brings up the another point here is that the whole time Omega was supposed to have been like going to the ship to contact Rex, and she clearly didn't do that. So I don't know. We'll see if it's a pickup or if there's maybe something that they can do. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I suppose our scientist who's friends with Omega could have escaped and finds a water vehicle to rescue them.
Maybe. Oh, one other thing that I did enjoy, Omega finally got to use her bow.
Yes.
I mean...
And she did it well.
Granted, she only took out a few of these training droids, but still, it was cool. I like it.
Yeah. That bow's awesome.
The bow is cool. It looks cool, but
really impractical close range, but still.
Well, yeah, I guess.
I wonder if they're setting her up as the replacement for Crosshair, and that just kind of solidifies that he's going to sacrifice himself. Because you got to have a sniper in the group.
I mean, I think you had it more on the nose in the beginning that she's more like Hunter's replacement than anything else.
Yeah.
Because she's clearly a little bit more leader, I guess, driven. She definitely knows more than most of the other Bad Batch.
Yeah.
So. Another thing I wanted to point out here, because people have gone so nuts over it, and we've been critical at times because there was an episode or two where the artwork was a bit sketchy, but what did you think about the look of the episode? And I guess more specifically, probably what I assume people will talk about is this final scene of destroying Kamino.
I thought the final scene was pretty epic. Both music and visuals were amazing on that. For some reason, one of my favorite parts is when they showed the fire hitting the legs underwater. I thought that was a really cool effect for that. I thought the animation style was pretty decent. I enjoyed it, especially like when they're just getting onto the planet and they're outside in the rain. Right. Omega looked really good. They actually put a lot of effort into her.
Well, her hair actually got damp and like was floppy and everything.
It actually acted like hair instead of a helmet.
I mean, it's still anime hair, but it.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree. I think that the rain effect was good. The water effect, the explosions and everything. Yeah, I thought that it looked really good. I mean, it was really only like one episode that we complained about, and it was just some background textures,
And it was just me, or did the training bots look way better this time?
Yeah, I don't even remember them from the first time we saw them.
I kind of like to pull them up. First episode, we saw them in this one side by side and compare them, but it just seemed like they put a lot more effort into the visuals this episode.
Yeah, and well, I mean, it is a finale, and if there's one thing we know about Dave, he sure does love a finale.
Yeah, and also we were number 3 in the queue.
True.
This week.
Yeah, it moved up a little bit in the banner queue on Disney Plus, so that was a positive, I suppose. So anyway, pretty decent episode, I would have to say, overall.
Yeah, good cliffhanger for a part 1.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to see where they take the rest of this.
Honestly, the episode seemed so short to me. I didn't check the timestamp when all was said and done. It cut to black. I'm like, do we still have a few minutes?
Yeah, I know.
Is something gonna happen? Nope. Dave Filoni, never mind.
Yeah, no, I had the same thought too. It's like, is there more? Oh, nope, it's done. That was it. So there we go. Well, guess let's roll comics.
'Tis time for issue 6 of High Republic.
Yeah, so issue 6 and 7 of High Republic.
Probably the coolest cover out of all of them so far.
7?
No, 6.
I didn't really care for 6.
Oh, come on.
Nah.
It's Avar on a Rancor.
Nah.
That's awesome.
I'm good.
No, honestly, I would have to say that there's a few better ones. And actually, in the end of this comic, it does show issues 8 and 9 on sale now. They are way better. We've got our Jedi with the evil Rey double lightsaber, and then we've got a cool one of Keeve in armor.
Yeah, it looks like Nihil armor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, kind of where we left off with this particular series is Avar has made a deal with the Hutts to fight the Drengir. And we're at another planet here. Divak? I don't know. Davak?
Davok, Divak, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Guess where it is? In the Outer Rim.
The Outer Rim.
Because everything in the High Republic's in the Outer Rim. Well,
it's all everything is. It's just the Outer Rim. There is no Inner Rim.
Yeah, and what are these people? They're like crystal eye people?
Yeah, they're like insectoid, reptilian, weird creatures. They're a throwaway race. They're a throwaway race, so you can just show some carnage.
Well, unfortunately, yes, they were definitely thrown away. So we have the Drengir attacking this planet, and then this 2-page kind of I don't know. I turned to this and I thought it looked a little corny with the two Rancors and the hut and
then the twins.
Yeah, everything
it's being creepy as always.
The size, it's the sizing, the depth of some of the stuff.
Yeah, because funny. I would hope that what's our hut's name? Ariala, something like that. I don't care. I would hope that hut is way ahead of those Rancor, because if that hut is half the size of a Rancor, I am calling BS.
That's a big hut. Well, so they're kind of doing battle, but really, and we also have Stellan Geos making a brief appearance here, looking for a report on Skier, so that was fun.
Yeah.
Old Stellan. He wasn't.
We really don't get any mention of Skier in the book, too, so I thought that was kind of odd.
Yeah, well, when we were reading the book, we got this whole part with the council debating on, like, Avar calling in all Jedi to deal with the Drengir and the wisdom in that. But we didn't really, to that point, see why she made the request. And now we're starting to see why, but just in a comic.
Yeah.
Now,
again, book-worthy stuff right here happening too.
Yeah, we'll chat about that once we actually maneuver through these, because I have some other things to say. But so Skier is still sort of being controlled-ish by the Drengir. He still has his weird arm, and Keeve here is trying to sort of like figure it out, help him figure it out. And I guess I'm gonna, because a lot of the fighting with the huts is just okay. By the way, all the people are dead. So
do what?
All the people are dead, sucked of nutrients.
Oh, yeah.
But I had to flip a few pages. So Keeve actually does enter the force field to try and talk to Skier, and
doesn't go well.
No, it doesn't. She gets tentacled. So all of you miscreants out there, I'm sure, had a real good time with this one.
This whole episode is based around
dirty.
This whole issue is based around those people.
Bunch of dirty dogs. Oh man, but.
So I do have a question about the art style after that happens.
Yeah.
Did you think for a second that we had a flashback here and it was Kid Keeve? Because the first panel of her is so god-awful. I totally thought she was like 10.
They did make her look a lot shorter. I didn't necessarily... Yeah. My mind didn't go to flashback, but I guess there could be an element to this, because essentially they are, I don't know, sharing a mind, but through sort of the Drengir mind network, I guess, is kind of how I would put it.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of things here that I found a little bit, I don't know if I want to say strange, but there was this panel here where it's like, and by the way, the only thing about Keeve is if she could kindly stop saying Criff.
I know.
I mean, we get
so
it.
bad.
We get it. You want to curse. I mean, just, it doesn't really make any sense to keep. It's like almost continuous, to be honest. It's almost too much.
I can't tell you how much I've heard that word in the Star Wars universe before these comics.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I ever have. I think it's just Keeve's word. It's like,
yeah.
So, but she says here, it's good to see you. And then Skier, this is not the Jedi way. And then she says, I don't care. He says, neither do I. And it's like, I really hope that they're not implying anything more, that they're,
Yeah.
Because that'd
be weird.
I mean, granted, we did just get done with the book about how Elzar Mann basically like loves every single person that he comes in contact with, including Avar Chris, as they were Padawans. But the master and apprentice thing, like, I would assume without the discipline of the Jedi, you could potentially get into more of those sort of scenarios where, a connection is a little bit stronger than master and apprentice type of deal, especially if you, anyway. So I thought that was it was kind of interesting. I guess it's just supposed to be like a heartwarming thing, and I'm glad to see you, buddy. But it just seemed it seemed more heavy-handed than what I probably would have.
Especially in just a tentacle world. It's not a good setting for that.
Yeah, tentacle world. So we get a little bit of exposition here from Skier where he's we got this before. He basically tapped into the Dren gear, and that's sort of what his purpose was, but he didn't feel that he was strong enough, and he really couldn't make any sense of it. And then Keeve is getting in here she wants to help, and then gets attacked by more tentacles because, of course. Mm-hmm. And we get, was it this one? Yeah, so we actually get a panel with Orbelin.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool. But basically, we kind of flash back to reality here, and Meru and Orbelin, kind of see Keeve being suspended by Skier's tree tentacle arm. And she tells him it's like, I'm trying to make this connection here. I'm trying to find what they don't want us to find. And Orbelin and Meru basically like are essentially using the Force to help boister her. So that was kind of neat. Mm-hmm. And again, this is like the difference between the High Republic and like the New Republic. In the High Republic, they just like help each other. In the New Republic, it feels like this would have been a point where like Obi-Wan's like, I have to cut you in half now.
Yeah.
Mace Windu's like, I need to throw this man out of a window or something. You know what I mean? It's like this is the point where a New Republic Jedi like deactivates the force field and just murders both of them.
Is it funny how little we talk about like lending your strength?
Yeah.
In the New Republic, like it would almost just kind of destroy a lot of the canon when just dealing with characters not being strong enough to fight something.
Well, and this is something that I do want to talk about a little bit in our retrospective for Phase 1, and it's something we've harped on. The High Republic Jedi have gotten to a point of understanding with the Force that I think the New Republic lost. And you're right, if they were able to harness each other's power to help each other out, or do the stuff like Avar does with
the song.
Yeah, the song, where she's able to help control an entire fleet of ships. I don't necessarily know that Palpatine would have been as successful if he would be successful at all.
Well, isn't it also funny that the only time we really get this happening is in Rise of Skywalker?
No, you mean like the life
all the Jedi that have, with all the Jedi who have passed on into the Force already, which you would assume give them some form of enlightenment that, I mean, High Republic Jedi just already had in life.
Well, I mean, it would have been better if they had actually shown the Force Ghosts, like actually helping.
Yeah.
But of course, JJ couldn't do that. I mean, just set up a few lens flares. Why don't you?
They would have had to pay too many actors and actresses for that.
Oh, you could just CGI it. There is somebody who did.
I'm sure you got pay likeness though.
Well, who cares? I mean, whatever. These are such big budget movies, but there was a guy on YouTube that actually did superimpose Force Ghosts into that scene, and the one that I watched recently was like a couple. So it was like Anakin, old Obi-Wan, Luke, and I don't know. There were like 5 or 6 of them, maybe Mace Windu. But like
no, I want to see like Ahsoka and everything.
Right, sure, and that makes sense. There was a bit of news. So you remember, obviously, the Mandalorian when Luke shows up, and we talked about his face, the CGI'd face.
Yeah.
So there was a guy on YouTube who actually like did it way better, and Lucasfilm.
Oh, I did see that.
They hired the guy, and it
really.
Yeah, I mean, some person made a YouTube video that was better than the cut of a highly publicized and expensive TV show on Disney Plus, that guy with a YouTube channel did a better job. I mean, that's embarrassing.
It is. And honestly, I can't think of any other way for Disney to handle it but to hire him and just admit, like, hey, this guy's better.
That's the smart
good talent.
Yeah, that's the smart thing to do. So,
how would you like to be the guys that were on that project and did Luke and Mandalorian, and then this guy comes into the office like, hey, I'm your replacement?
Yeah, for sure. Well, anyway, back into the comic, we get the great progenitor, who I guess is the heart of the Drengir. So now we potentially, it seems like, have a goal. Because that was kind of one of the things we talked about the Drengir. It's like we can't really kill them. The ancient Sith imprisoned them with statues. So what do? Well, there's a great progenitor, and it seems like if maybe we kill this great progenitor, I mean, how? Who knows? But maybe if we kill this great progenitor, then all the Drengir are done. Conceivably.
A little bit more exciting than dealing with the Nihil, right?
Oh, 100%. Well, finally, we snap back to reality as Skier rips off his own tree arm. So that's cool.
By the way, we have the absolute worst panel I've ever seen.
Are you talking when they're being dragged along?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that got anime real quick. Keeve's teeth all basically go to what was the show with the Fairly Odd Parents, the Timmy.
Yeah.
He had the one tooth thing.
Yeah.
That was a bad panel. It's a goofy panel. That's like for adventures, not this one.
Right.
So anyway, Keeve is able to figure out the planet's name, where this great progenitor is located.
And it's carved into her bracer. Yeah.
Yeah. Mulita. And they're like, we don't have a planet like that. Oh wait, yes we do. It's in the unknown regions. That was like a really quick turnaround. It's like there's no planet around here.
Yeah.
Oh, but wait, I got it. Just had to move this smudge of dust.
And I love how, like, the Hutt's giving exposition about that as they're fighting. Like, oh yeah, that was the days of the Nightmare Conjunction. Which, by the way, what's that?
You know what? That's actually a good call because I was going to look that up. It sounded familiar, but it probably isn't. I'm going to look it up. There's an article on it. You see, we're the detail guys.
Yeah.
We know this, but we also have to look it up. Okay. Oh, okay. So this was mentioned in Dooku Jedi Lost. That's where I'm remembering it from then. There's not much on it, really. So it's new. It's not anything recent. The Nightmare Conjunction was said to have been tamed by Darth Krall, a former Jedi Master who fell to the dark side of the Force and became a Sith Lord by the time of the High Republic era. Ancient records that dated back the days of Nightmare Conjunction and yeah, so something about taming the Nightmare Conjunction, what the Nightmare Conjunction is, who is Darth. Oh, interesting. Okay, got it. So in our next comic that, the next comic that we're going to spoil, the sort of, the Sithy one, that's Darth Krall.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
So there we go. Kind of an oddball. What is a species?
It's not mentioned in the comic, though. That's kind of odd.
But also doesn't mention what his species here is. So again, just like a newish character. So there you go. So maybe we might get more of this Nightmare Conjunction. Who the heck knows? But Darth Krall apparently, fixed it or did something with it. He tamed the beast.
Tamed it.
He was very powerful, apparently.
What if the Nightmare Conjunction is just what Marchion has on his little ship?
Dude, that actually could be. Oh, wow. Yeah, okay, maybe. His lightsaber, Krall's lightsaber, that was a lightsaber from the Bogan collection. Remember that?
Ooh, yeah.
Everybody's trying to get in that Bogan collection. All right, so anyway, that was issue 6. We kind of end there. And we pick up with issue 7, which is a recent release here. And Keeve is meditating. And she's starting to have some trouble here. And she even says, like, the problem with telepathy is that it can also push back, from both sides.
Yeah.
So she is...
This is ironic because she was saying how, that's the great thing about telepathy, the issue before, about finding where this progenitor is.
Yeah, and in her vision, she is, at least from my opinion, she is basically living the life of a Drengir. Like, she's almost seeing herself as a Drengir here. And she sees some of the prior characters from the comic that were killed. Was that Bartol, the little kid, and then the Rhodian, and all this stuff. And then she sees a ghost lady. Spooky ghost lady. Oh, Criff.
She says that multiple times, too.
Just a bunch of Criffin spooky ghost ladies.
Yeah.
God, that's so stupid. Anyway, so she kind of sees a little bit of the kind of the Sith incursion on the Drengir here, and I guess I guess without any real confirmation, it looks like Darth Krall, but who the heck knows? It may or may not be. Maybe the Nightmare Conjunction was literally what they did to the Drengir. Maybe, who knows? But anyway, she's stabbed by a Sith. The harvest will be protected? I don't think so. The harvest will be ours. Interesting panel layout, though, when you really look at this, because, like, again, we had the whole statue thing and these weird, kind of almost like, Crystal Skull vibe alien statue things here, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And then Keeve is sort of trapped in stone, again mimicking the Drengir. And then we have Scary Ghost Lady. It's like, hey, I'm here, by the way. I'm gonna tell you stuff. You want to listen to a spooky ghost lady? No,
go away.
Well, she does snap out of it, but she's kind of having hallucinations. Like, she's up against a mirror. She sees Drengir staring back at her. So kind of starting to lose her way a little bit, it would seem.
Well, and she's got this crisis of faith, too. I mean, in her opinion, if Skier can be cut off from the Force and controlled by them, what chance does she really have?
Sure, for sure. We also get in this comic where, Avar is taking as many Jedi as she can into wild space to find the planet. And which, again, is kind of where we were at in the last High Republic book, but we didn't really know much about it because, again, we were in this stupid fair. The worst idea ever.
Yes.
Well, Keeve is attempting to be useful, and Meru does send her on a little mission to an architectural hub number 42. Yeah. To save some people from the Nihil.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping we wouldn't see the Nihil for a while. I'm on Nihil burnout from the book.
It's brief. I did think it was kind of funny. This guy, he's like, gladly, my storm. Do they ever say that in the books? It's just like it felt really weird. It's like, my storm, like my lord.
It just seemed kind of too formal for the Nihil for me.
Yeah, it kind of did.
And no, I don't think they say that in the books.
Oh, by the way, Keeve gets bonked on the head. Just a gentle bonk.
Yeah.
It's kind of dumb. I thought it was dumb. And again, I don't mean to be overly critical, but like this Nihil just comes down and gently bonks her on the head. Doesn't even knock her out. You bonked me.
Yeah, kind of weird.
Why did you do that? That freaking hurt. That Criffin hurt.
Why didn't you hit me hard enough to knock me out? I don't want to feel this.
Yes. Well, anyway, she's rescued by
Creepy
spooky ghost lady. What was her name? Orla Jareni. Orla Jareni.
We've heard that before.
That name sounds crazy familiar. Let me look it up. Because, again, we're the detail guys. That should be a T-shirt. Just for us, though, not for anybody else. Because they're not the detail guys. Orla Jareni. Okay. Umbaran. Okay, makes sense. Really packing in the Umbarans recently.
Mm-hmm.
Operating independently. Jedi Padawan of Lorette Savarel. I don't know who that is. Involved in some crisis. Board a vessel, trip to Starlight Beacon. Yeah, we've read about this. We've read about this person. And now I'm forgetting, what book was this from? Was this from the Claudia Gray book? Has to be, right?
She was probably mentioned in the Great Disaster.
No, I don't think it was in that. I think it was later. I'm pretty sure we read about her in the book and we're just forgetting. I think she was like a main character in the book. Yes, she was on the station. Yeah, Orla Jareni. That's why we remember her, because she was in the Claudia Gray book. Detail, guys. Yeah, you remember she left to become a way seeker because she was kind of the one that was wavering. I think we both enjoyed the character, but she's So there you go. Scary Ghost Lady is actually a Jedi that Keeve probably should have known about.
We definitely need to reread everything before we do our retrospective of Phase 1.
No, I'm good. I don't want to do that.
Really? I don't want to do that, but I just feel like I should.
It's too much. It's too much for me. I mean, we probably should, especially like the earlier books. But yeah. So there she was in Claudia Gray book. So it's actually kind of cool to see her. But yeah, you mentioned the dark ray lightsaber, which is like impossible to hold.
got. Yeah. And the most awkward thing ever, you can't spin it around in your hand. I feel like even deflecting anything would just be really difficult.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense as a practical weapon.
Why is it so uncommon just to have a dual wield Jedi who can put both lightsabers together and form a staff? Why isn't that more popular?
Yeah. I mean, I could see that. I mean, granted, Keeve, I don't think she always use. Yeah, I think hers is one piece. I guess she doesn't always use obviously both blades. Yeah. I don't know. Like double-bladed lightsabers were such a big thing for like old Republic, and then I mean, conceivably for Old Republic, because really, I mean, the first time everybody ever creamed over one was Darth Maul.
Right.
But I mean, I see the practicality in a double-bladed lightsaber, just not Orla's. It just doesn't make much sense, the design of it. And I know, I never really read up on the reason why they did that particular saber for the Dark Ray vision.
Yeah, it did seem kind of odd.
It just sort of...
I mean, it made sense she had a staff saber, but it never really made sense why they went that route with it.
Well, I mean, the thing is like... So a staff saber, but the thing is she never actually had a staff saber. Even her saber at the end, which the first go-round of watching Rise and at the very end, I thought it looked longer, but it really isn't a long saber. It does kind of look like her staff, in a way. I'm sure it's pieces and parts, but
wasn't there a mention in one of the books of her working on a way to connect it to her staff or something like that? I
don't remember that.
And do like almost a spear type saber in a way.
I don't have any recollection, but I think that would be stupid. Sorry,
would be.
It'd be dumb. Anyway, Orla was essentially on the path here because she kind of felt that there was a Jedi who was losing their way. So kind of interesting, the whole Wayfinder thing. Again, I feel like that would be like stoned in the New Republic era. You want to leave and be a what? Stone them. Shame. 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 Push them off the tallest tower. Poor New Republic.
She probably is the most fitting to have a white saber, though. Just with how pale and ghostly she is.
Yeah, for sure.
It's kind of cool.
Now, we do end this comic, though, with a vision that Keeve has, and we actually see the panel of it, and it looks like a, of our Chris basically dead skeleton.
Yeah. Super dead.
She's been skeletonized with a couple little hair follicles there. And also being tentacled, so hey, for all those people. But she is essentially saying that it's already lost. And that was the thing that we didn't get in our last book. They mentioned it, but it was, timelines, and plus obviously the fair is being attacked. So do you think, obviously I don't, but do you think that they would have the goal to like kill off Avar and her group?
No way. No, I would say that's just a vision of doom and destruction, not more specifically a vision of her death.
Listen, all I'm saying is there are 3 covers listed in the back of this comic, and none of them have Avar Kriss. So at least one of the twins looks like he's still alive.
Yes, because that's who we care about. I don't know. They did kill off our Grand Master pretty quickly, so
yeah, true.
Maybe they would do it, but who are you going to replace? For longevity, what characters are strong enough to be main characters? We haven't been too thrilled with Elzar and.
I like Elzar. I like Elzar because he's really flawed, and I think he can exploit that if you're smart enough. I think for both of us, it was really Stellan Geos that we were kind of dude, couldn't you have just been a little bit more OP? Be better.
He could never replace Avar.
You just
ever
poke him with a stick. It's like, come on, do something better.
Right.
You can't even hold back Smog.
Yeah.
He was okay. He just wasn't very good. Anyway, so now I want to talk about the storyline. We obviously sort of talked about it. This storyline deserved to be a book, not a comic. And no offense to comics, it deserves to have a long form book.
Well, it needs to be fleshed out.
100%. I want Avar's perspective of what's going on. I want Keeve's perspective. And I got to say, and you kind of already said it here though, I think Keeve deserves like a bigger part than just a comic because listen, it is a fact that comic sales are not doing as well across the board as people want them to be. And really, traditionally, comic books are not always the best-selling medium anyway.
No. Think about what percentage of Star Wars fans right now know about the Drengir.
Well, if they read, what is it, Into the Dark? I always forget the name of Claudia Gray's book.
Yeah.
So if you read that,
so
you
a percentage knows that, but do you really know how OP they are? Because they really don't say that in the books.
Well,
they don't really portray them that way.
Sure, well, yeah, in the comics, they're literally killing everyone. It's like, nope, they're dead. Everyone's dead. Crap.
And it's just kind of weird. Like, we have this horrible thing. It even says in issue 6, there's like hundreds of planets taken over by the Drengir.
Yeah.
But all we're obsessing about is the Nihil in the books. Don't you think this would be a talking point for like Stellan and Elzar when they're talking to each other before the fair crisis and all this other stuff? Like,
no,
20 more planets were taken over today. Did you hear about that? No, I didn't. No, that's terrible.
That's a bummer. Hey, about the fair, you want to go get some funnel cakes?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, man, it's definitely odd. I 100% agree, but all I'm saying is that I think that this is overall, it's just a better story than some of the stuff we've gotten, and I'm really kind of disappointed that this isn't a book.
Yeah, and again, potentially one of the coolest villains, maybe not the most interesting, but one of the more powerful ones in Star Wars being thrown into a comic and just pigeonholed into that universe. It's just weird for me.
Yeah, agreed.
Because Marchion Ro is nothing compared to the Progenitor. Nothing.
Marchion Ro is just a hopped up Kylo Ren with less powers.
Yeah.
With no power really. But apparently he's super persuasive for some reason.
I don't see how he's charismatic enough to be persuasive.
Dude, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know.
He's just like rolling natural 20s here or something because I just don't get it. He's just lucky.
I win again all the time. Yeah. Yeah, I just think that they chose wrong. I mean, listen, we kind of talked about it in the very first book, Light of the Jedi. Your great disaster was a ship being destroyed. Like, that's the great disaster. I think the great disaster is hundreds of planets being culled by tree people. That seems like a great disaster. Oh, a Nihil ship ran into another ship, and it I mean, granted, yeah, there was a lot of death and stuff. It was tragic. It was terrible. But like
not whole planets.
Yeah, the great disaster. I mean, those two people in that radio station. Oh, we sent our message. Let's go.
And the pilot of the ship that blows up. Like,
yeah. Oh God, we're holding it. You know, it's like, okay, I get it. It's not a bad premise, but still, like the Drengir are far more nefarious than anything else because it's not, you can't really stop them right now. There's no way to stop them. And it looked like,
well, it's like I'm even okay with the idea of going from the Nihil and moving into the Drengir, but we've gotten far enough in with the Drengir that's like, okay, can we be done with the Nihil for a little bit and focus on this? Because I feel like this is so much more interesting. Like, why did you have to tell me in advance how many planets are conquering? Why couldn't we have just had them stuck to that one planet that we see them in
the station you're talking about?
Yeah.
Well,
it's like, why couldn't we have left them there until we dealt with the Nihil and then reintroduced them?
Sure. Well, here's kind of a connection, though, because they did say in the last book that it looked like the Nihil were seeding planets with the Drengir's seeds. So it's possible that, because again, we don't really know what that nightmare thing is, but we're kind of, it's like, well, maybe it's the creature that Marchion has, and that was part of the deal. It's like, here, you take this. It's really cool. Darth Krall tamed it, so it's sweet, and we'll just take all the rest of the planets. That sounds like a really good bargain. I can kill one Jedi at a time. Yeah.
If I'm lucky.
Yeah, you go. We're just going to eat all of you. I mean, but more to your point, it's very possible that now we could get, like, if that's true, if that's all true, the Drengir turn on the Nihil. And if you remember from the Afra comic where all the ships had, like, materialized in plants.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows why that happened specifically?
Maybe that's how we deal with the Nihil and get over that so we can focus on the Drengir. Maybe the Drengir just wipe them out.
Yeah,
One fell swoop.
Maybe, and then we can stop focusing on the Nihil. They're annoying. They're just pests, and I feel like if the current Republic just had any sense, they would just annihilate them. It's like, stop being nice, just do it. Oh, but we don't have a navy. We only rely on the Jedi. Well, the Jedi need to get their stuff in motion. Just murder them all.
Put some money into your military then for once. Actually be strong.
Just find someone who's...
Same issue as always.
Yeah, I mean, find somebody who's a little bit like Anakin and just be like, I killed them all. All the Nihil. Everywhere. The women and the children and the men. All of them.
And Marchion.
And then I took all their drugs. What? Nothing. I murdered.
I'm tweaking right now. Like,
what did you just say? Murder? No, the other thing. Drugs? Oh my God. Yeah.
You don't care about the murder, but drugs?
Yeah, it's interesting.
And here's another thing. Like, I think this is kind of our issue with going prequel with this. We're integrating it slowly. We're going to have talks of it, like with Afra and everything we know of the Nihil. We'll probably know about the Drengir too. But here's my thing. How stupid did the New Republic have to be to not... even a clone army, like, knowing that this happened with the Drengir and they could come back, I would put all of your available funds into the Jedi and into the military.
Well, but again,
everything.
But again, you have to think about the
Separatists
caliber.
shouldn't have even had a chance.
Yeah, but you have to think about the political climate of Star Wars books, where you always have a bleeding heart who says, we're going to only work through diplomacy and we're going to be nice and we're all going to be friends.
Well, that's fine until you introduce giant symbiotic plant beasts into your universe that could just wipe you all out.
But now you're giving anecdotal evidence. Where's the evidence that happens every single day? No, I get it, and I mean, there's obviously there's always a reason for a reasonable military, but yeah, it always just seems like the good side is always super unprepared for everything that happens, and I mean the Drengir, granted, that's a pretty big thing to deal with, but yeah, I mean the Republic at this point just doesn't really have anything. They have a protectionary force, and then the Jedi, but even the Jedi, it's like. I mean, they have like little George Jetson vectors and then like maybe some big ships that look like artwork more than they do functional. They're building science vessels like it's flipping Star Trek land, and they've never even developed transporters. It's like how many just episodes of any of the shows or movies in Star Wars would be solved with a transporter?
Yeah.
I'm just saying it would solve so much. It's like, oh, Anakin's dying down there. Well, I can't carry him. One to beam up. We're going to have to fix this guy real quick, you know? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Well. Anyway, so we went over our episode. We went over our comics. Not a bad week, though, for content, though.
No. Good week. The content of the comics is great. It's just... It makes me frustrated about how the climate of everything else is going.
Yeah, for sure.
With the books, more than anything. But no, it's great content.
No doubt.
Very good week.
So we did get a question in here from Chase, you know, my buddy Chase, who runs These Are the Voyages, a Star Trek podcast. He sometimes texts questions and stuff, but he was kind of asking about so you remember the like Palpatine's like Royal Guard and their helmets?
Yeah.
So he was kind of saying it's like he felt like there was a resemblance between like Mandalorian helmets and Palpatine's guard helmets, and then it was like,
I agree with that.
It's like, is this a connection or is there a coincidence? And then he also asked, how can anyone have any visual range with that headwear? Well, as to the first part, I don't really think that there's any connection to it. I mean, realistically, I haven't even looked up the Royal Guard. I probably should have done that beforehand. Let's actually see what they look like. Entertain them while I type.
I would almost
okay,
say
too late.
I could see why he would say that for sure, but if you actually look into all the different helmet styles in the Empire, there's quite a few that actually resemble Mandalorian helmets in a way. The sniper one, even to an extent.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as the Imperial Guard, they're a little longer. They're a little overall longer helmets. Yeah, I mean, I don't. Not to my knowledge, I don't believe there's really any actual connection to that. But yeah, helmets they certainly do have kind of a similar look. Mm-hmm. Not altogether the same, but sure, definitely similar. But whereas, you know, all of Palpatine's guards are the same, you have a lot of variance in how the Mandalorian armor, including their helms, actually look. And I guess a little bit more, and I was thinking about this too. So the Senate Guard, which were in blue, I think that was like basically the same costume. So he just took the Senate Guard and dressed them in red. And I was actually trying to see if there was anything special. I think that they were just literally like elite warriors, or supposed to be elite warriors. I don't think that there was anything particularly wicked about them. I'm genetically modified, probably. Death troopers.
We don't get enough with his personal guard.
True.
It'd be kind of cool just to see them wreck some people.
No doubt. Well, then the other side to that, though, about the visual range, I mean, yeah, probably not as much. But, I mean, there's an electronic component to a lot of those. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would just imagine kind of that there's probably a display inside the helmet.
Well, some of them I assume have a display inside. The other ones have like the drop down. eyepiece.
I would kind of imagine it be almost an Iron Man thing. That's kind of how I like to imagine it.
Yeah, sure. But aside from that, I mean, as far as like the eye slits, they're very reminiscent of like medieval armor, which of course was not built for functionality, it was built for protection. So you wouldn't get a blade to the face or an arrow to the knee.
So did you really just go there?
I did that specifically. And I had hoped that you wouldn't say anything so that one person would just in the world would be like, ah, and then it would be done.
He did the thing. Ah.
Yeah.
Ah.
So, yeah, I'm sure that it's really more of a fashion thing than
right.
I mean, because
maybe that's why we don't see them fight much.
Well, I think if it were more practical, everybody's helmet would be like Orbital Ends, where it's just like a clear glass sphere. Well, not glass, but like a transparent steel or something like that, so you couldn't like penetrate it, but you had 360 vision.
Right.
But it wouldn't look as cool unless you were a blob creature like Orbital End. I don't know. Everybody just wearing fish bowls.
Right.
Well, what else? Anything else we need to chat about this episode? I think I'm out of topics.
I think we're good.
Okay. Well, hopefully everyone, at home or wherever you're listening to this podcast enjoyed this week's episode. If you would like to converse with us or just, talk about specifics on the episode, share your theories or, just any questions you might have to the podcast, we do have an email, tcplanpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter at TC Plan Podcast if you want to interact. Those are great places to do it. After we bash social media pretty much every episode, we still have them up.
Yeah.
But anyway, y'all have a great rest of your week.
And as always, may the Force be with you.